Picture Vienna on Christmas Eve, 1634. The Hofburg Palace stands silent beneath a mantle of snow, its halls thick with incense, whispers, and the sound of a newborn's cry. In that cry echoes the history of an empire obsessed with itself. The girl in the midwife's arms is no ordinary infant. She is the latest heir to the most dangerous experiment in Europe. Her bloodline is a circle drawn too tightly. Her ancestors were not merely kings and queens. They were each other's cousins, nieces, uncles. And from that labyrinth of blood will emerge the most inbred queen in European history, Mariana of Austria, the woman who would give birth to a dynasty's final heir. And its undoing. The winter of 1634 fell upon Vienna like a velvet shroud. On Christmas Eve, the Hofburg Palace, that bastion of marble and blood, lay still beneath drifting snow. Only the toll of midnight bells and the hush of servants' feet disturbed its silence. Candles guttered against the chill, their wax bleeding down silver stands as if echoing what had just transpired. Inside a shadowed bedchamber, a young empress had paid her due to destiny. The crimson stains on her sheets were more than evidence of birth. They were the tax for maintaining Europe's most dangerous experiment. In the midwife's trembling hands, slick with sweat and sanctity, lay a newborn girl. The courtiers watching whispered prayers and congratulations, but their eyes gleamed not with tenderness but calculation. She was one of their own, another piece in a dynasty that devoured its children for the illusion of eternal rule. History would know her as Mariana of Austria, the queen whose veins carried the concentrated madness of centuries, the most inbred royal ever to sit upon a European throne. Her blood was a riddle written in centuries of repetition. Her father, Ferdinand III, heir to the Holy Roman Empire; her mother, Maria Anna of Spain; his cousin and niece, a product of lines that doubled back on themselves until ancestry became a closed loop. The baby's features betrayed the legacy before her eyes even opened, the jaw slightly too heavy, the lips already shaping the Habsburg protrusion, the faint asymmetry that seemed both noble and tragic. The child was not merely born, she was engineered. For generations, the House of Austria had turned marriage into alchemy, believing that divine favor could be distilled by keeping the royal blood pure. While others reached outward for alliances, the Habsburgs folded inward, choking their own tree into a wreath of decay. In the silent nurseries of Vienna, Mariana grew not among laughter, but among ghosts. Each cradle beside hers told a story written in short chapters, siblings and cousins who never learned to speak, who died before their first birthday, who were mourned in perfumed silence. To the empire, it was God's will. To history, it was biology demanding payment. Mariana's survival was treated as a triumph, though her pallor, frailty, and the unmistakable shape of her jaw carried quiet warnings. She was not a child to be loved, but a vessel to be prepared, a pawn born for a match planned long before her conception. Before she could walk, her betrothal was arranged. Her future husband would be her uncle, Philip IV of Spain, 30 years her senior. Her lessons were not of childhood but of ceremony, how to curtsy like an empress, how to speak without opinion, how to smile while knowing she had no say in the path chosen for her. At 15, she was led to the altar in a gown of silver brocade so heavy it dragged across marble like the weight of fate itself. Her groom was not even present. In his place stood an ambassador, reciting vows to bind a girl to a man she had never met. The church declared it holy. History would call it strategic cannibalism. When Mariana crossed the Alps to Spain, the carriage wheels carved paths through the snow like scars across a dying empire. The journey was endless, the landscape grim. Behind her, the laughter of Vienna. Ahead, the silence of Madrid. She entered Spain not as a bride, but as a relic, delivered to a court obsessed with sanctity and spectacle. Queens were not companions there. They were living icons, caged in etiquette and veiled in ritual. Every gesture was dictated by priests, every conversation filtered by confessors. In this suffocating theater of devotion, Mariana learned that stillness could be a weapon. She smiled when she was expected to, bowed when she must, and listened always. Behind her composure, a sharp mind watched the court's every tremor. Her first task was the oldest commandment of queenship: bear a son. Her first daughter, Margaret Theresa, survived, a rare success amid centuries of failure. The court celebrated her birth as divine proof of continuity. But the next children came weak, malformed, or stillborn. their tiny bodies buried before their names were remembered. Doctors spoke of delicate humors. Priests whispered of curses. Yet the truth was written in their blood, the Habsburg genome unraveling under the weight of its own arrogance. Then came 1661. Mariana gave birth to a son, and the bells of Madrid rang as if salvation itself had arrived. The infant was frail, his jaw already protruding, his body twisted by unseen hands. He would never walk properly, never speak clearly, never rule in strength. They called him Charles II, and the people named him El Hechizado, the Bewitched. To his mother, he was her victory. To history, he was the ghost of a dynasty that had mistaken incest for immortality. When King Philip died, Mariana was only 31. Clad in black silk, she became regent of an empire that stretched across oceans and yet was rotting from within. Her veiled figure haunted the golden halls of the Alcazar of Madrid, commanding respect through silence. Ministers bowed but muttered behind her back. She was a foreigner, a woman, and in their eyes both disqualifications. Yet she ruled with relentless precision, keeping Spain alive through famine, rebellion, and war. While others prayed for miracles, Mariana learned the arithmetic of survival. Her court was a nest of vipers. Her confessor, Father Nithard, became her shadow, trusted, hated, indispensable. Her half-brother, Don Juan of Austria, stirred rebellion against her, crying, "Down with the Austrian!" As mobs filled Madrid's streets, the palace trembled with the sound of revolt. To save Spain from itself, Mariana exiled the only ally she had. She watched from behind lace curtains as Father Nithard's carriage rolled away into the night, the crowd's jeers echoing off the palace stone. Still she endured. Decade by decade, enemy by enemy, Mariana outlived them all. But victory in politics could not defeat nature. Her son, the fragile king, grew grotesquely distorted by the inheritance he carried. His mouth slurred, his limbs trembled, his body seemed to collapse under its own crown. Each public appearance drew cheers that ended in pity. Each new portrait painted by the court's artists softened what truth could not be disguised. The dynasty was dying, and its body was on the throne. In desperation, Mariana sought to heal the curse with new blood. The first queen, Marie-Louise of Orleans, was young and luminous, her arrival a burst of light into a mausoleum. But she bore no heirs. After years of humiliation, she died, some said of sickness, others of heartbreak. The next bride, Maria Anna of Neuburg, came from a fertile German line, yet found only ruin. Her husband, Charles, could barely stand, could scarcely eat. His body had become a catalogue of genetic collapse. Enlarged jaw, misshapen spine, infertile and frail. He was a king only in title. In truth, he was a living eulogy. By the 1690s, Spain was less a kingdom than a corpse. Ambassadors whispered not of alliances but of inheritance, drafting maps that carved Spain into prizes for foreign powers. Mariana, aged and ill, clung to the only weapon left to her, diplomacy. She wrote secretly to her brother, Emperor Leopold I, weaving one final thread to keep her world from unraveling. But the irony was cruel. The same bloodline that had doomed her now became her only hope. In 1696, the Queen Mother's chambers grew quiet. The once immaculate silks were replaced with white linen. Her portraits of lost children arranged around her like witnesses. The candles burned low, their light reflecting in her eyes. Still sharp, still unwilling to surrender. Her son, the last of the Habsburg kings, sat by her bedside, his twisted hands folded in prayer. The dynasty that had once ruled continents now fit into one silent room. When she exhaled her final breath, Madrid's bells tolled again, echoing the night of her birth, one beginning in blood, the other ending in exhaustion. At her funeral, the people lined the streets in black, not to mourn an Austrian stranger, but to honor the woman who had held their empire together with sheer will. They whispered her name not as an accusation but as an elegy. She had inherited a curse and carried it with dignity. In her death, the Habsburg experiment reached its end, not through war but through sterility. Mariana of Austria was both the victim and the architect of her empire's demise. She proved that power, when worshipped too closely, turns in on itself. The Habsburgs believed purity would preserve them. Instead, it destroyed them from within. Their downfall was not a single act of treachery or battle, but a slow, meticulous suffocation, the arithmetic of blood reaching its inevitable sum. And in that arithmetic, Mariana stands immortal, a queen veiled in black, surrounded by ghosts, holding the weight of a dying world, and teaching us that even empires can collapse quietly, one generation at a time.